well, you got to kind of think that there's some of this evil scariness going on in the commercial sector that we've always been thinking about that the feds do. And that's a disturbing trend.
Nodding of heads. Well, since we're talking money, I feel like I have to ask you guys, was it worth it to sell out?
I don't think we had a choice, really.
At Stake cost me $75,000 personally.
Yeah,
It wasn't free.
It was not worth it.
I think that you have to, look at what was going on at the time. We weren't in a vacuum. This industry was becoming a professional industry. People were getting paid to do this kind of research, and it was becoming the whole idea of security research was becoming commercialized, whether we liked it or not. So, it was either do we want to stay outside that, or do we want to contribute to it and try to make it as good as we can?
And try and lead it and help.
Try to lead it.
Help
evolve or die.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. The point that L0pht was at that point, prior to At Stake, I mean, we would have continued on if we had continued doing our same thing in the same way, but we would have eventually just died out. The L0pht as it was, I don't think was a sustainable model for any length of time beyond At Stake.
Yeah.
If we hadn't tried to do something big, I mean, we made the effort. We're like, this is our shot. We're going to change the world, make a dent in the universe. It didn't, unfortunately, work out that way, but that was the goal when it started. And so, was it worth it to sell out? I think we had to give it a shot.
Weld had a great analogy a long time ago, saying like, you can be the best, garage band in the world, and the only people that are inspired or hear your message are the people that live in, a couple block radius of you, and you have an option of, trying to, change the world and influence people and hopefully do good by staying as that garage band, or you can try and make some educated and, and careful compromises, get a promoter, and, go to the big venues and try and, spread. Maybe your message will be a little diluted, but at least it's still your message and you're hitting more people. And that gave me a lot of solace and hope, that we tried to do that. I think we did change the industry in certain ways. I mean, for the first year and a half of At Stake, we were the only ones that really were not beholden to any vendors. We wouldn't take kickbacks for recommending anybody's stuff. We paid for our own equipment that we were going to do analysis on because we wanted to follow the Consumer Reports model where people could actually trust what we're doing. When the bubble started to burst and people were kicking out consulting agencies, the big five at the time, were getting booted out, and they were keeping At Stake because At Stake was like, well, they're only thinking about our particular problem. But even then, the executive team and the market influences, eventually those morals, or those directions, I should say, started to erode. But it was an effort.
Yeah, I mean, at the time we were a small software shop. I mean, we had LoftCrack.
Making money in spite of ourselves.
No, yeah, exactly. I think if we had more business acumen, we probably would have raised the price of LoftCrack. But
Only what, $50 or something?
Yeah, $50. I think Symantec was selling it for $1,500, but
The mainline version was free. I mean, we
Should have gone the open source model and charged for support.
we were a small product shop. We also had consulting as well. I mean, we were doing some very cool projects with Network Flight Recorder and whatnot.
Yep.
But I mean, we were cobbling together systems out of garbage and whatnot, and just trying to build. I mean, like I remember sitting at a desk with, like, the desk came out of the garbage, and so did the chair. We just were all cobbled together, working in a room that had no AC and 100-degree heat. But we needed to go to the next level so we can continue the great research that we were doing.
And we saw that next level was available, was attainable. I mean, it's funny that we did a lot of this technology reclamation. I think somebody at the L0pht coined that. Might have been Weld.
dumpster diving.
Yeah, dumpster diving, technology reclamation. At one point, I was doing some work. I was running training classes at the NSA and some other things, and word got around to the National Security Council and the Executive Office of the President. So I convinced the other L0pht guys that we should allow these feds to come over to our secret establishment as a sign of goodwill, so they can see that we're not a risk, and we're not a threat to them. And hopefully, we'll actually even be able to call in a favor if other agencies like the FBI hated us, got riled up and didn't know how to take us. And so we give them a tour, and Richard Clark was there at the time. This is like, what, 97, 6, something like this, around there. And they walked outside, and they all kind of like grouped together and started talking in huddled whispers. And we're watching them go, and we're like, what the hell's going on? What are they whispering about? They could have gone back to a skiff. They could have gone back to D.C., talked about this. So, having enough Irish courage in me at the end of that evening, I said, I'm going to put an end to this. So I just go tromping over in the middle of the discussion and say, we invited you into our house. We opened up the kimono and showed you everything that we were doing. And now you're whispering and you're making us all nervous. You have to tell me what you were just talking about. And they all kind of stepped back and they looked at Dick Clark, and until that point, I don't think we had realized that he was kind of the head honcho. He said, all right, I'll tell you what we're thinking about. The CIA and other folks have been giving us briefings saying that what you've shown us and what you've accomplished is only doable by funding from a foreign nation state. And you've changed our threat model. And this is great. I mean, it's scary, but you've really changed what we have to think about as far as, this was wonderful things. Of course, he followed up with so I have to ask if any foreign nation states approached you and, and offered to pay for your services. And I said, no, but if you'd like to be the first, we're willing to entertain it.
We had that nice Russian radio company that showed up right next door.
Yeah, the Russian mafia right above us
Right
with all
next
their
door to the
antenna farms.
loft, there was a Russian radio station next door that had a satellite uplink. We were
And
always
a
kind of like,
sweatshop
what
downstairs.
the hell are they doing in there?
Yes.
Yeah. Never
Key
saw anyone ever
comments.
go in or out.
No.
So I was curious whether you think that the model that you tried to do with At Stake, could it work now that we're not in that kind of recession era, really in the technology market, a depression almost?
If you start a company, try not to tie revenue to headcount. Okay.
Try out what?
Try not to tie revenue to headcount.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think so. I think the thing that was accomplished, well, the thing that I take most pride of for At Stake, which there's a lot of it I'm not fond of, not happy memories, was that we did influence the consulting field at the time, and we did kind of introduce the kind of McKinsey, Bain, high-end technical research, and I think that other companies like Frank Height's organization, Leviathan, with Matt Miller, Scape from the Metasploit project and everything, are able to do now because of that foray that we went into. Can you do it again? No, because the industry has already changed that opening and that influence that we had. There's other areas to be influenced now.
So some of you have taken the further selling out step of getting married. How has that affected your hacking life?
Not at all.
What was the line? No longer client number 8? Sorry, honey.
That could be a chilly evening for you.
This is why we have this conference right now. I'm married to the director of it. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm now, when I first started doing the loft stuff, I was single at the time. Now I'm married and I have 2 kids. So, I just change focus now, and now I'm looking at my 2 sons, and it's a lot of, we play a lot of games and exercises and whatnot, just trying to inspire creative thinking and just creative problem solving. Just to get them to think different and just come up with different approaches and whatnot, solving problems. It's not always a linear path to get from point A to B, and just trying to encourage that at a young age. I think that's, in my mind, I think that's the future.
Your kids are really lucky to have you as a father. I'm serious.
So and being a dad has been good for your hacking, it sounds like.
Yeah, and actually, my youngest son is actually a perfectly good fuzzer who's actually found some problems just by mashing at the keyboard. So it's interesting. We found some interesting Mac problems.
Well, has this been your experience?
Well, I think I was the only guy who was married when I joined the loft. I'm the
that's
the oldest of the group.
Well, wasn't Count Zero and
Brian
Oblivion got married while he was at the loft?
Brian
Yes.
Levian's wife who kicked you guys out?
Well, actually, the way that we started with our space was actually Brian Oblivion's wife, who kicked him out of. She didn't. As soon as he would do a lot of technology reclamation, and so he would be bringing, monitors and PCs and network cabling into the house constantly. And then when he started to stack it up in the bathtub,
Well,
that was the limit. She
kitchen
said,
sink.
"You really have to get this stuff out
he
of
ran his
here."
BBS out of the kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
So that's actually how we started. Was Brian Oblivion's wife had a small loft space in the south end of Boston where she made hats. She was a hat maker, and she had the hat business wasn't doing so well. She said, "You know what? I can rent half my space to these guys. They can, I can get my husband to take all his stuff out of the house." And that's really how it started.
Yeah. But I just got married this last August, first time, only time. I never intended to get married, and I met a brilliant and beautiful mathematician who now actually will do my math for me. So it's been great. Now I can actually I say, honey, this is what I'm doing. Is there a neat mathy way that you can represent this in an algorithm? And so the work just looks that much more professional.
And actually, you didn't get to finish. Did you?
Oh, sorry.
Did it help your hacking life to have a spouse?
I'm not sure if it ever really helps. So, but I think she was, she was definitely motivated me to make the at stake transition. She's like, you love doing this. Why don't you do this as your full-time job, and make a run at it. So.
I remember picking you up when we were going over to Battery. You're like, do I wear a suit? And both your wife and I were like, when we're asking somebody for $10 million, you put a fucking suit on.
Yeah, she was like, I like this guy.